Welcome to episode 1 of Tailoring, Tech and Talk with me, Roberto Revilla. I'm a bespoke tailor, menswear designer and owner of Roberto Revilla London Suit and Shirt Makers. This podcast is for anyone interested in clothing and all things to do with personal image, but we'll also throw in a bit of technology and lifestyle talk from time to time since I'm passionate about all things to do with great design. I'll also be talking to a different guest each episode, including our customers who are from a vast range of different backgrounds, our suppliers in fabrics and accessories, and owners of some of my favourite brands. My hope is that you'll learn something new, meet some interesting people, and be inspired to get involved, either by commenting on each episode or even joining me as a guest. So without further ado, on with the first episode. This week, I'm talking to Robbie Coma of Noise Playground. We'll be talking about his journey to tailoring, what he's been up to during the pandemic, as well as an in-depth conversation on sustainability. Enjoy! I'm so pleased to welcome our very first guest, Robbie Coma.
Hello.
Hello, how are you? And where are you right now?
Yeah, very well, thank you. I'm down in Dorset, so a few miles south of you. Yeah, down in Dorset, outside of Shaftesbury, in a tiny, quiet, lovely little village.
Is that where you've been holed up most of the time, the last 11 months of this pandemic?
Yeah, there's been spats sort of like to and from London, but predominantly here, which is it's appreciated. Just being able to get out into the outdoors, into the green, and just disappear for a few hours.
I can fully appreciate that, and I'm very envious. So, Robbie, tell us a bit about what you do.
That's an interesting question at the moment, given the circumstances. So, for the most part of my life, I've been a sound engineer running a recording studio down in London and sort of working front of house for gigs and events and shows and stuff like that. And having taken the plunge to move out of London and down to the country, I opted to set up a company dealing exclusively with gigs and live performances and stuff like that, which in hindsight might not have been the best move, but nonetheless that was the option that we took, and just focus on the recording side for clients that I particularly wanted to work with, projects that particularly excited me. But obviously due to the current situation, lockdown, all of that malarkey, that's very, very quiet at the moment. So I've spent the rest of the time trying to set up another company dealing with creating natural products and bits and bobs for the home and whatnot. Just anything that we can sort of like really create with our hands from beginning to end. So we've got a few, don't know what the best way to describe it is, just a few niceties that we're going to try and sort of bring to market. We've got a big colony of mini hives of bees now, so using the bees and looking after them, and whatever comes out of the hive, whatever we can use, turn that into something nice and hopefully try and sell it on.
Okay, so bees equals honey, which is one of my favourite things. Always brings to mind interesting and life-threatening situation with honey that I had when I first moved in with my now wife, well, obviously my girlfriend at the time. She decided to leave the flat to go swimming and left me to my own devices. And I went rooting around the kitchen cupboards and I found set honey and I found running honey. And so what I did is, I can't remember which order I did it in, but I basically just chugged some of the running honey along with a scoop of the set honey, and it hardened in my throat. Ooh. And so basically, I started to suffocate. Luckily, she'd forgotten her gym pass. So I think I was going quite blue in the face, and it was she saved my life, and I've not been able to get out of that one since. It's been the butt of many jokes and many Winnie the Pooh mugs as well.
I so assumed that was going to be sort of stumbling across a hive of bees in the attic or something like that, but that sounds equally. We got a story.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's kind of loosely related to beehives. More directly, so a lot of the big corporations that we go into, so one of them is Cartmiles in Southampton Row. One of the many things that I missed throughout the pandemic is going into client offices, but particularly Cartmiles, because on their first floor, they've got this just beautiful floor-to-ceiling glass that looks out over their sort of client outside balcony area. and they're working with a local sustainable firm that provides beehives to offices. And I think from memory, they had about 3 or 4 hives there last time I was there, beginning of last year. And it's just wonderful to see that sort of thing going on.
Especially up in the city.
Exactly. Yeah, that's it. We've actually, because we're living in Cricklewood at the moment, and a couple roads away, there's a lady who keeps bees, and she sells her honey at the local butchers and farmers market, which is pretty cool. I just really want to knock on her door, and but that probably would be a bit weird. So tell me more about the hive project.
So we actually started it when we was in London, and started off with our first sort of test hive just to sort of learn and get to grips with them and whatnot. And that was actually held at the recording studio that I was running on the roof, which was an interesting experience because there was no easy immediate access. It was literally ladders or climbing out a window and diving up there. But they survived, and we got to grips with them, got to learn all of their habits and ways and sort of complexities. As soon as we was able to, and we got down into the country, just upscaled it as much as possible. So we've got about 10 hives now, all set up in different places around here, which has been awesome as well, because I mean, the people around here just putting posts out online and looking for sort of locations to host bees, and people are just so accommodating. It's unbelievable. So we've got them scattered all around North Dorset now. They're all happy. They're all healthy. They're certainly keeping us occupied, and hopefully, as we sort of come into the beginning of this year, we're gonna be able to sort of grow that even more, and hopefully go up to 20, 30, maybe even 40 hives, which would, by the end of the summer, hopefully give us a nice yield of sort of honey, beeswax, all good things that we can sell as honey, make into meads and hydromels and little, any little extras that come with it as well. So sort of beeswax candles, beeswax wraps, anything that we can do to basically make the most of what the bees provide.
Yeah, so the next few months is all about setting up the manufacturing of your products, basically.
It is, yes, yeah. So we've been building a workshop. There's a lovely lady who owns a farm not too far from us, and she's been sort of kind enough to give us and delegate us a little bit of space there. So we've got the workshop all being set up at the moment, and then as soon as, hopefully, God willing, that'll all be done before the end of the month. And then as soon as that's complete, it's just getting it set up and upscaling all the things that we've been sort of working on, testing, and then just getting our hands dirty, getting in there and seeing what we can create.
And once you've got products, so once you've got honey and you've got beeswax products and so on, what's the plan to get those into the hands of people? Are you going to start small and locally through farmers markets and local stores, or are you going to go online? Have you not thought that far ahead yet?
Yeah, I think it's probably going to be a little bit of everything. I mean, my end goal would be to have a premises, maybe one here in Shaftesbury, and perhaps even one down in London. And for me, what would be really awesome is just to have a premises which is set up sort of, it's going to sound bizarre, it all makes a lot of sense in my head. Whether it makes sense sort of being spoken out, we'll see. But would be to try and have somewhere which acts not necessarily as a shop, but maybe more somewhere that people just want to come and be and hang out and chill out. So sort of like maybe a coffee shop with a license enough that you can sell the beers and stuff that we're brewing down here. And with things like live music on just all the time, and just simple stuff, just someone on the piano or simple acoustic music and stuff like that. So that it's somewhere that people want to come and be. And whilst they're surrounded by all the things that we've created, and hopefully that sparks their interest. So trying to overlap a little bit of culture with the products, and we're hoping to sort of like try and amalgamate all of the products with a little bit of culture. So sort of overlapping things. So doing sort of a range of things that are inspired by a particular sort of like local artist or particular musical group or something like that, or an author, so that you can put packages together with different things, all inspired, I suppose, by the creator. So hopefully, to get back sort of to your original question, it will be, in order to get there, a case of doing sort of local events, doing any markets and stuff like that we can do, but also trying to use the internet in a way that we can tie in with the people whose art and stuff it is that we've tied into our projects, in order just to share what they're doing. Hopefully in turn that helps share what we're doing as well, and just creates a little bit of a network there so that everything's tied in all together.
Yeah, I was going to say, it sounds like you're going for the real kind of community building approach, which is so cool. And I'm sure if there was such a hub in London or store or location or whatever you're going to end up calling it, I'm sure it's something that would really catch fire, especially post-pandemic, because people are just so fed up of being stuck at home, not being able to go out, not being able to see people, not being able to interact with people, not being able to see live music, not being able to have different experiences. I mean, I'm so fed up with when we are able to catch up with friends, we tend to do it on Zoom calls, have Zoom dinners and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And everybody asks the same question. What have you been up to? What's new? Well, nothing's new. It's exactly the same as it was when I spoke to you 3 weeks ago. We're not traveling, so we can't talk about places that we've been to, destinations, new restaurants and things like that. So I think things like this initiative that you're starting up is fascinating. And I'd love to have you back on in the summer at some point to see how you've been getting on with it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Perfect. That's takes care of the guest issue for around about July time. So look, Robbie, you're obviously very entrepreneurial, so your primary profession's on hold at the moment. You haven't just kind of sat around, you've just kind of turned your thoughts onto what you can do, and you're obviously very, very passionate about this as well, which is great. It's probably one reason why you and I kind of hit it off, because we've not actually known each other that long. We only met recently and you became a new customer of ours. So how did you find us and what set you off on that journey?
Well, I mean, originally I found you on Google, which is, I suppose, novel. But yeah, it was, I don't know, for me, there was a couple of factors involved in what initially sort of pushed me to look for someone like yourself. I mean, the first and foremost being it's sort of like my build is sort of, I'm particularly skinny, a bit too tall for the weight that I am, and just finding clothes is a nightmare.
I think skinny's not the word I used when I first met you. I think I said something like built like a cheetah.
Something, yeah. I think that sounds about right. Yeah.
But you are very slim.
Oh yeah, and it's a nightmare. It's like, I mean, I would probably fare off like better shopping around in Mothercare or somewhere like that. It's just horrible going out finding clothes that sort of fit in some places. Deciding, I don't know, do I want my jeans to fit on the waist or around the legs? Or, all right, if they fit on the waist, then they make my legs look like matchsticks. And it's just compromise after compromise after compromise. And it just sucks all of the enjoyment and all the fun out of going shopping. So I've never been particularly sort of like fashion conscious per se, but have always been, obviously aware of how I'm presenting myself, and especially when working for yourself and working a lot with the public, it's something important to bear in mind. That would probably be my primary reason. It's just getting absolutely tired of making compromises when it came to what to wear.
Yeah. Would you say that your fashion choices have been somewhat dictated by what you've been able to get?
Yeah. Oh yeah, very much so. Yeah, absolutely. It's sort of, even things like putting together an outfit and going, right, I'll get this, and this. Going out to the shops, find one of the items and that doesn't fit. So, okay, we'll change this and swap things about a little bit. And you end up leaving with something entirely different from what you originally set out for. And often sort of bits and bobs you're like, I don't quite know what I'm going to do with these now.
Yeah, because you kind of you set out, with an outfit in mind or a look in mind, and all the components, you've kind of got that worked out in your head. But then when you get to the stores, the reality of being able to get all of those components is very, very different. So I guess what you're saying is you very often would just end up really frustrated and maybe come back with 2 out of 5 things that you needed. And by the time you've done that a few times, you just end up with a wardrobe with just this eclectic mix of bits of different looks and different outfits that maybe don't really work together. And that obviously can be quite frustrating.
I mean, that's been there for years, is that sort of resentment with clothing when it came to came to going and buying stuff.
Well, as the years go by, I will make your life easier, I promise.
I certainly believe it. But I mean, like, everything I try and buy for my world, I suppose. The last few years, I've really tried to sort of like make an effort to buy things of value, to buy things that sort of like actively add to my life. So all of the things that are necessary, you're sort of like bound to do. You can sort of take an approach with, is it just purely going to be functional, utilitarian, and you're just going to do it, or should you sort of reach for something more? And it's, to me, it just makes common sense that you've got to eat. So if you're going to eat, and you've got to eat every day, and that's an unavoidable part of reality, then would it not be better maybe to spend the time and sort of invest in learning to cooking something really nice that you're really going to enjoy, that's really going to be a treat, and then something which could otherwise be a chore, something which is just a purely functional part of life, becomes something that you enjoy, that you sort of really participate with, and you end up learning to love. And all the best conversations come before dinner. It's all in sort of the preparation and stuff like that, and just trying to sort of carry that forward with the things that I'm buying, and just being really mindful of that. So, I mean, like, shoes are a great example. Just instead of going out and buying 3 pairs of trainers a year, which are going to fall apart, they're going to look horrible, they're going to just decay, to go out and spend the money and invest that in some, a set of Crockett's or Chini's or something which has got real lasting power to it, which you can look after, you can maintain, and you'll look better in, and they will fit you like a second skin. So trying to sort of like carry that forwards with everything that I'm bringing into my life, your stuff straight away, it's being able to buy something of value that someone's put lots of care into, with materials that have been cared for, and I can take stewardship of that. I can look after that, and hopefully that will look after me for many, many, many years to come also.
We talk in tailoring a lot, especially to new customers, about investment pieces. People like yourself that come into tailoring, I know that sustainability is something that's very passionate to you, and that's one reason why you're starting one of the new projects that you've just embarked on.
Yeah,
some people don't quite get that, because they come straight to tailoring from having been in throwaway fashion for so long, buying off the peg things that only last a few months, and then they throw them away, and then they buy stuff again. So when they come to someone like me, where they've been, for example, with shirts, they might have been spending £100 with one of the major high street chains, which is no more and is now only online, but they have their perennial 5 for £100 sale, and the shirts only last a couple months, and then they get chucked in a bin, and then they buy them again, and then they come to us, and our shirts start at around £149, and they're sort of shocked at that, like, why are you so expensive? We always talk about investment pieces, so you can carry on spending £100 every 3 months and chucking those things in the bin, but after a year, you've then gone and spent the best part of 400 or 500 quid. Whereas if you just bought a week's worth of quality tailored shirts, you will probably have those in the wardrobe for a minimum 2 to 3 years, if not longer.
Yeah, cheap will cost you more.
And it's the same with seats and so on. It's the same with, I guess it's the same with a lot of things in life as well. And sustainability in clothing is obviously becoming more of a hot topic now. So we're thinking more about the environment and how we're using the Earth's resources and how we're just chucking things away all the time. I mean, there was a conversation on the radio the other day about the pandemic and just the sheer number of face masks that are being discarded all over the place. And they can't be, and we're just talking about the paper face masks here, right? They can't be recycled because they've got plastic in them. To which my wife's first comment was, why are people putting plastic on their faces? It's the worst thing that you can do. And we're probably all going to die of plastic lung cancer in 20 years' time. And my answer was, why aren't people buying fabric face masks? Surely that makes more sense. I've got 5 fabric face masks and I just put them in the washing machine every week, and I'll use those until hopefully the day comes that we don't need to use face masks anymore. Yeah, I mean, and then when you bring it back to tailoring and what we do for clients like yourself, I mean, I've got customers that I've worked with for over 18 years now, and they're still wearing but some of them are still wearing the first suits that I made for them. I mean, we might have had to retailor and do some repair work or replace a coat lining along the way, but those garments are able to last a lot longer than something that you might just buy cheap off the peg.
Absolutely. And it's something, you're able to care for and just investing that little bit of time to actually look after the things you own, because you have made that investment, that they mean something to you, that it's worth looking after. If you've got something which you've ordered on the internet, it's arrived next day, it's not really cost a lot, and not a great deal of thought's gone into it. But I mean, besides it being sort of relatively impersonal, it's just something that you've acquired, you care very little for it. What does it matter if it gets damaged, if it gets dirty, if you neglect to clean it or to care for it, you just get another one. And it's just an unhealthy sort of relationship to have with your things, but also, I mean, the money that you're spending, you spent time for. You've had to earn that money, or at least most people do. Surely your time and you're worth more than that.
Absolutely. I couldn't have put it better. I couldn't agree with you more. One of the new services we introduced during the pandemic, because I was able to see customers, I was often having to go to their homes, and inevitably you end up just going through their wardrobes with them. And what they want to do is really get your opinion on stuff that they've not worn for a long time. What they're looking for is for me to say to them whether they should keep stuff or throw it in the bin. And I always think that that's the wrong way to look at it. When you're trying to sort through stuff that you've accumulated over the years, you really want to take an approach where you say, right, everything that I've got here that I've not worn for a long time, what's the reason for that? Is it because it didn't fit? Well, if it didn't fit, would you wear it if it fit better? In which case, I can retailer that stuff for you and we can give it a new lease of life. Are you not wearing it because it's damaged or because it needs some love and care and TLC? Well, again, let's take it back and see if we can breathe new life into it. And if it's stuff that you really it just doesn't work for whatever reason, you're never going to wear it again, even if it was in perfect condition, even if it fit, it's just something you just made a mistake on. We shouldn't be looking to chuck that stuff in the bin. There are organisations and charities and people out there that will happily take that stuff so we can recycle it back into the world, rather than just stuff ending up in a black bag and then ending up in landfill. So it's something that we're very passionate about here. So again, I'm sure there'll come a time in future with you where we'll end up talking about some of your existing stuff and maybe having a similar conversation. Going beyond that, we're also just reviewing, because obviously Brexit has happened as well. So our supply chains have been interrupted a little bit. I don't know how that's going to resolve itself, but when we're looking at our supplier relationships and reviewing those as we are now, we're also just looking at things like traceability of fabrics. If I make a suit for you, would I be able to trace the wool for that suit all the way back to the sheep that it came from? What's the recyclability of those fabrics, or the way that we're making the suit? How easy is it for it to be adjusted, taken apart, put back together, and so on as well? It's minimizing or eliminating the use of glue in jackets and things like that, which a lot of off-the-peg manufacturers do because it's just a cheaper way of putting things together than actually stitching them.
Yeah, sure.
So it is a very important, and we're developing a lot of new product lines now on the smart casual and casual area. And because those are products that we're just building completely from the ground up, we've now got the control really to look at every ingredient that goes into our polo shirts, for example, or our casual chinos and that sort of thing, and just make sure that they're 100% recyclable and all the materials that we're using are from sustainable sources.
I think it's something as well that we don't really spend too much time thinking about nowadays, but it's like, if you can go out and you can buy something quite so cheaply, it's like there's going to be an element of compromise somewhere. I mean, I know, economies of scale and sort of the way that businesses work, you're able to produce things a lot cheaper and increase efficiency and things like that. But I mean, the price that we buy most things for nowadays, you're paying for compromise somewhere. And getting an article of clothing from you, again, like you're saying, with fabrics that come from sort of trusted mills, with good practices in place from the get-go, then you're sort of eliminating all those initial compromises so that the article that you get as well is not only better because it's had your hand to it, it's had a great deal of care go into it, but like all the way along that chain, you've got that commitment to care there.
No, absolutely. It is something that I'm very passionate about. My wife is extremely passionate about it. Hopefully, we'll be able to carry on that sort of sustainability theme and policy throughout everything that our clients touch from us. So even just this morning, I was looking at things like coat hangers. Never really thought about how coat hangers are made or manufactured. But with this conversation in mind, I am now weirdly interested in how coat hangers are put together. But I'm not going to go into that now. That's for another day, I'm sure. People listening to this don't want to hear us spending 10 minutes talking about wooden coat hangers. Yeah. And you'll get there. So, it's the right approach as well, because when you build the wardrobe up slowly, we're able to think carefully about each thing that you're about to add. So I know the next project we're going to talk about when you're ready is a jacket.
Yes.
And we've already talked about that needing to be quite versatile and you having the flexibility to be able to put it with different things and so on. And then once we've done that, the next thing that we look at, what we will also do is it's not just you saying to me, right, Bobby, I want to look at this, I want to look at a new suit or whatever. We also will then be looking back at what I've made for you previously and seeing if there's a way that we can tie those things together as well so that you just get maximum value. And as you build your wardrobe up over time, what will then happen in 5 to 10 years, you'll be able to open the wardrobe doors and look at everything that I've done for you. You can say to yourself, do you know what? I'm wearing 100% of everything that's in here.
Yeah. And for me as well, the ease of following sort of that approach and just being able to very, very, very quickly pull something together that's going to look good, that I'm going to feel comfortable in, and it's an extra decision that I just don't have to worry about a day. I know it's something really small, but just waking up and being able to pull things out of the wardrobe that have all been thought about with relationship to one another and just go that, and I'm out the door. That's me happy. But yeah, and then, well, on top of all of the sustainability stuff, for me, I'm really glad just to have things that fit nicely, make me feel good, feel comfortable, and there's a little bit of excitement again about getting up and putting these things on, which has been a long while.
Yeah, that's huge. It's also something that I'm guessing a lot of people haven't really been thinking about the last 11 months because I just have been hearing so much. I haven't worn a suit for 11 months. I have been in jeans and a t-shirt, or worse, shorts and a t-shirt for the last 11 months. But as we start emerging and getting back out into the wide world and going to restaurants again and going to parties and going to weddings and other events, I think there's going to be a bigger conversation to be had in people's minds about how they present themselves and so on, which obviously I'm looking forward to.
I agree, but I think even now, there is a marked difference in my levels of productivity. It's if I've got a week where it's entirely left down to me to manage my time and to get on and make of the week what I will. If I get up and just pull on whichever is closest and easiest to sort of pull on, compared to making the conscious decision just to get up and get dressed properly as if I would be going out into the world and participating within the world. Even though very, very little else has changed and I'm still, locked in the confines of my own home, my productivity levels, and I don't know if it's just me or it's something that other people might find similar, but are exponentially greater. I will be so much less inclined to sort of like laze about on the sofa and sort of eat beans or whatever it is if I've got up and made the effort to get dressed properly and nicely at the beginning of the day.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And case in point, I went to drop a pair of chinos off to a client's house yesterday. He'll know who he is if he's listening to this. He's someone who I absolutely love working for. He's become a really good friend and mentor over the last few years. He is a lawyer, and he always takes pride in the way he dresses. But yesterday was the first time that I saw him slightly unshaven, so I'm guessing he probably just didn't shave that morning. And it's almost like the light had gone out of his eyes, and this is just one of the most upbeat people that I know. And it's mostly this pandemic that is just wearing people down. I asked him if he was feeling burnt out, and he was like, yeah, I totally am. So he changed out of the jogging bottoms he was wearing and put my new pair of stretch chinos on, and immediately he pepped up. Now, this is not a guy who's been wearing jogging bottoms for the last 11 months. This is someone who, at the very least, I know he will put a smart pair of jeans and a shirt on for work. On the days that he does go into the office, he will always wear a jacket, a shirt, a pair of jeans, or a pair of chinos. This is not someone that I need to re-educate on how to dress. It's just, I think, particularly in this last week, we've just come through this winter.
Yeah.
People are working so many hours now without any breaks. If they've got kids, they're trying to homeschool and manage all of that stuff as well. It's just, everything is just getting on top of people. And I think that's why the way we dress is going to be so important, and it's going to be brought into sharp focus over the next week or two. Certainly for me, I mean, I admit I've had days where I just have not been motivated to do anything. But when I think back to those days, the reason why I mostly have not been motivated to do anything is because I've just rolled out of bed at whatever time, and I've just stayed in what I was wearing until past lunchtime. And it's not until I actually at least put, whether it's a smart pair of jeans or it's a suit, it's not until I've actually got dressed and got myself ready to face the day that I feel like I can then actually be productive. And I personally do think it's so important. I never believe the whole people are just as productive on Dress Down Fridays as they are during the rest of the week. I really don't believe that. People can argue with me. They can shout at me in the comments. I don't care, because I've seen it. I've worked in corporations. I've not always just worked for myself. And I remember on Dress Down days, all we could think about was, when were we going to go to the pub? Or whatever. Or finish work for the day, or whatever. When you dress casual, you just tend to think a bit more casual and be a bit more casual. So it'll be interesting to see what happens.
And especially at the moment as well, when you're at home and you've got all your familiarities there, you've got no break in the day, you've got no sort of transient or change. It's even harder.
Yeah, exactly. And then for some people, and I think possibly it's more creatives than anyone else, because I've got a couple of friends who are accountants, and they just seem to be glued to their computers from 6 a.m. until whatever time at night. But they seem to pay them a compliment. They seem to be very good at not being distracted by things. They are literally just working flat out.
Yeah.
I don't know if it applies more to creatives like us, because we tend to let our minds wander because it's the nature of things that we do. But it's like my eyes right now are scanning the room, and they keep flipping back to my PlayStation 5 controller.
Yeah, I mean, it's really funny, isn't it? I mean, at the moment, I've got a stack of books that, I love reading. Books are like numero uno, only rivaled in my estimation by sitting and playing the piano. And for most of my adult life, I would have probably sort of like hacked off one of my own arms for more time to sit and read and sit behind my piano. And for a lot of the lockdown, having that opportunity, fantastic. So, like, absolutely jumped on it. But it's even got to the point now where things like that, it's so much harder to sort of like compel yourself to sit down and do things that would otherwise be so enjoyable, because you've not got any it's not even a routine today. It's just you've got no break away from those things. All of a sudden, even creative, exciting endeavors, it's like you need the time to be away from them, to ruminate on them, to think on it, to get excited about these things. in order then to sort of come and approach them with that momentum and with with that excitement and enthusiasm behind you.
I totally get that. I get so at the moment I've got a videographer who is waiting for me to finish the third, fourth, and fifth of 5 scripts for 5 YouTube videos that we're due to be filming any week now, and he's not going to get them today. And I hope that he's going to understand why. The reason why is because I can't just sit down and just knock them out like it's a homework assignment, because then it's just going to be something that I've done because I've had to do it. I need, I just need, time, space, do other things, and then eventually, I'll then get that spark of inspiration, and that's where I'll suddenly grab whatever my iPad or my MacBook that I've got to hand, and I will suddenly be like, okay, don't talk to me, putting my noise cancelling headphones on. I know exactly what I need to do with this. And out, and that's when my best work comes.
Yeah. And it's even the idea of, you're electing to do that then, as opposed to it being something which is imposed on you to do, which is a very small sort of delineation, but important nonetheless.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, look, it's not that he's imposed it on me, really. I mean, the whole reason we're doing this video project is me. I'm the one that's driving it. But then you've just got that sort of layered nuance in between, is that I'm the one that's driving it, but then there's some creative work that needs to be done. But in order for it to be me and to be authentic, I need to not have a deadline put on me. Not a strict one, anyway.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, of course.
And then generally speaking for work, we're going to, from Monday, have just a very strict policy now that get up in the morning, get dressed as if you're going to the workroom or the office or whatever, and get to work. And then when the day finishes, then you dress back down into your jeans or your gym kit if you're going to go and work out or whatever. Yeah. But, we're just going to get back to the whole dressing up thing, just to get into that headspace. And I've been hearing other clients have been saying the same thing. I mean, we actually had a few new suits commissioned in the last month or so, which was pretty much unheard of for almost a year before that. As people haven't been buying suits, because why should they? Because they're not going back to the office anytime soon. But some clients have been commissioning suits, albeit a little bit more casual. So kind of softer fabrics, maybe a slightly looser fit, things that they won't necessarily wear with a shirt. They might just wear a polo shirt underneath or a roll neck or something like that. But it's just because they're fatigued, they're fed up of being scruffy and feeling, this is probably not the right adjective, but loserish. They just need to change things up. And just get out of this kind of Groundhog Day feel that we've all kind of got at the moment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And like you said, I mean, better as well to sort of get on with that now, ready for whenever things do lift, so that as soon as you've got the opportunity just to go out and like relish in the world, that you can also do that dressed your best, looking good, and it's not not something that you've got to try and address then. And we can all go out and have a bloody good time.
Exactly. Can't wait. Roaring 20s. Here we come.
Let's hope so.
Robbie, it's been such a pleasure to have you on as my first guest as well. It's been an absolute honour.
You.
I'm so excited for this new project that you've launched. And if there's anything that I can do to help or support any of our listeners, if we have any listeners that can do to help or support, please let us know. As soon as you've got anything up online about it, please let me know, because I'll make sure that we put that out to our audience.
Certainly.
And I'd love to have you back on in the summer when you've got things a bit more sort of off the ground and running, and we can hear what you've been up to and sort of how you've been getting on.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure.
In the meantime, if any of our listeners want to connect with you, where can they find you?
The only space at the moment I inhabit online is my audio website, which is noiseplaygrounds.co.uk. Obviously, that's all focused around the recording and the studio sides of business, nothing to do with the stuff we've been setting up down here. But nonetheless, that is the place.
Brilliant. So noiseplaygrounds.co.uk. I'll make sure that I add that into the show notes for you guys and girls below. Brilliant. Robbie, thank you so much. I wish you all the best with your new Beehives project, and can't wait to catch up with you again soon, buddy.
Likewise, and thanks again for all your hard work on the awesome garments I've got here.
You're welcome. Take care. I hope you enjoyed that interview with Robbie Coma, my friend and client. Robbie's website, I made a little mistake when he gave that to me. It's actually noiseplayground.co.uk. That's noiseplayground.co.uk. I'll add the link into the show notes as I promised before. Basically, what Robbie does, just to go into a little bit more detail, is it's professional sound recording. So it's a professional sound recording studio, but they're also able to actually do location recording, so they can actually bring the studio to you, whether you or anyone you know recording choirs, theatre groups, for school performances. They can actually bring all the equipment to wherever you normally practice, whether that's a school hall, a church, your office, and actually carry out the recording there. So that saves a lot of time and hassle in making studio arrangements, especially when you've got large groups of people. And very often, whether it's performers or whether it's your own employees that you're getting involved in some sort of event where you need to record, they feel a lot more comfortable in their own surroundings. And this results in a better performance all round. They can also take their equipment to other venues, any venues. So even bands and musicians, I know some of our customers do have their own bands that they play in their spare time. So when you guys are able to get back together and jam, if you would like to have a professional sound recording studio right where you are, wherever it is that you rock out, then Robbie's company, noiseplayground.co.uk, are the people to call. I hope that's helpful. Thanks ever so much for listening. Thank you for sticking with it if you're still here and listening to me. Our website is www.robertorevilla.london. You can also find me on Twitter at It's Bobby Revilla. And you can also find me on Instagram at Roberto Revilla London. Give us a follow there. And if you enjoyed this episode, please do feel free to subscribe and to give us a little review if you're able to on platforms like iTunes. Look forward to seeing you on the next one. I hope you all have a wonderful weekend. Take care. See you next time.